You're not the first human. In fact, you're the last. That sounds impossible because we're taught that humans were always alone. From the moment we first learn about history, we're told a simple story. Early humans appeared in Africa, evolved over time, spread across the planet, and eventually built the civilizations we know today. But that story leaves something extraordinary out. For most of history, the Earth didn't belong to just one kind of human. It belonged to many. Some looked surprisingly familiar. Others looked completely different. Some were tall, some were short, some had massive bodies built for brutal Ice Age winters. Others survived in dense tropical forests or high mountain landscapes where breathing itself was a challenge.
Together, they formed an entire family of humans: Neanderthals, Denisovans, Homo erectus, Homo floresiensis, Homo naledi, Homo heidelbergensis, and perhaps even more relatives we've yet to discover. For nearly 2 million years, they lived across Africa, Europe, and Asia. They hunted, they raised children, they built tools, they gathered around campfires after long days of survival, and every one of them believed they belonged to the future. If you had traveled back in time 100,000 years ago, you wouldn't have recognized just one humanity. You would have discovered a world filled with different human species living at the same time. Some were stronger than Homo sapiens. Some were smarter in ways that still surprise scientists today. Some even had larger brains than we do. For decades, scientists searched for one simple explanation, one advantage, one extraordinary ability that separated Homo sapiens from everyone else. Maybe our brains were simply bigger. That would explain everything.
Except they weren't. In fact, Neanderthals had brains that were on average slightly larger than ours. Brain size wasn't the answer. Maybe we invented better tools. Again, the evidence refuses to cooperate. Long before Homo sapiens spread across Europe, Neanderthals were already producing carefully crafted stone tools. Some were so specialized that archaeologists can identify exactly what they were designed to do. Different tools for cutting, scraping hides, and shaping wood. This wasn't random survival. It required planning, knowledge, and experience. Generation after generation, those skills were passed down. Knowledge didn't disappear when one hunter died. It lived on inside the next generation. Scientists once believed Neanderthals lacked creativity. That assumption didn't survive modern archaeology because evidence kept appearing. Pigments, ornaments, and decorated objects. The more scientists discovered, the harder it became to call them primitive.
If Neanderthals were intelligent, if they built sophisticated tools, and if they cared for one another, then why aren't they still here? That question has puzzled scientists for generations. The first theory was simple. Maybe Homo sapiens simply fought them and won. It sounds convincing. Two human species competing for the same land, the same food, and the same future. Eventually, one survives and the other disappears forever. It's a dramatic story. There's just one problem. There's almost no evidence of a massive war between our species, not the kind that could wipe an entire species off the Earth. Then another theory appeared. Maybe the climate changed too quickly. Ice expanded, forests disappeared. The animals they hunted began to vanish. Entire ecosystems collapsed. It sounds reasonable, except Homo sapiens experienced the exact same climate. They walked through the same freezing winters. They hunted the same animals. They faced the same storms, the same droughts, and the same dangerous world. Yet only one human species survived.
So if strength wasn't enough, if intelligence wasn't enough, and if surviving harsh climates wasn't enough, then what made Homo sapiens different? The answer wasn't bigger muscles. It wasn't a bigger brain. It wasn't better weapons. It may have been something much more powerful. The ability to cooperate. Not in groups of 10 or 20, but hundreds, even thousands of complete strangers. No other animal had ever done that. But cooperation alone wasn't enough. The real breakthrough was something invisible. Stories, ideas, and shared beliefs. Humans became capable of believing in things they couldn't see. A tribe, a family, a common purpose. That changed everything.
Imagine trying to organize a hunt involving hundreds of people without trust, without shared beliefs, without everyone believing the same plan. It would collapse before it even began. But Homo sapiens could unite complete strangers under one shared story. That story became stronger than muscles, stronger than any spear, because a single hunter can only do so much. But an entire civilization begins the moment strangers choose to trust each other. The story doesn't end with survival. It becomes even more surprising, because Neanderthals didn't completely disappear. Part of them lives inside you. When Homo sapiens entered Europe, they didn't just meet Neanderthals. Sometimes they became families. They had children together. Those children survived, and they had children of their own. Today, scientists can still see that legacy inside our DNA. Most people outside Africa carry a small percentage of Neanderthal DNA. They're gone, but they're not truly gone. Their story became part of ours.
And maybe that's what survival really looks like. Not replacing the past, but carrying it forward. Every decision, every discovery, every step built the world you live in today. You're the result of countless survivors, millions of years leading to one moment. This one. But here's the twist. Our story isn't over. Evolution never stopped. It simply changed direction. Instead of adapting to nature, we began adapting nature to us. No other human species ever reached that point, not because they were weak, but because history chose a different path. If one decision had been different, if one winter had been harsher, if one hunt had failed, history could have belonged to someone else. Maybe another human species would be asking why Homo sapiens disappeared.
Survival wasn't guaranteed. It never is. Out of every human species that ever walked this planet, only one remains. And the next time someone says humans conquered the Earth, remember, we didn't just survive nature. We survived each other. We inherited millions of years of triumph, failure, and sacrifice. You're not the first human. You're the last.